Hi there, Sage Canada of VO2 Max Productions here. I'm at the South Boulder High School, or Fairview High School track. It's covered in snow. So I did my workout today on the road, but just want to get a real quick training talk out there. I've mentioned this common theme. We mentioned it in our book. Sandy and I wrote a book, Sage Running's Secret: A Guide to Speedy Ultras. It's available on sagerunning.com. It's something we've preached throughout training talks. The difference between the skeletal muscular system as a training system versus your cardiovascular system. So skeletal muscular system, muscle fibers, bones, tendons, ligaments, things like that, to the cardiovascular system, which would be your heart and lungs, capillary beds, things like that. So you want to view it as two different systems, because what I've learned, at least in overtraining myself, and this is my hunch as someone who coaches myself, who's screwed up in the past, I'll admit, most epic ones being the UROC 100K here in Colorado, where I came out flat and totally bombed, to my last race at the Cal International Marathon, totally bombed as well. My skeletal muscular system was exhausted. My heart and lungs, obviously from doing mile repeats at 450 mile pace, I was in plenty good shape. Lactate threshold was trained very well. Heart and lungs were in great shape. You get that from ultra running a lot and high mileage and intense workouts. But my legs were exhausted, and it was maybe too much speed work, too fast, things like that. So in your own training, if you run less mileage, I'd say that's less likely to happen, just from a sheer mileage standpoint. But you have to be careful with the intensity, because you overdo speed work and you'll literally burn out and kind of lose your edge. And you need that strength and endurance and consistency. So overtraining with the skeletal muscular system for other people in lower mileage, say you run 30 miles a week, usually manifests itself more in injury, stress fracture, tendonitis, muscle strain, things like that, because you're doing too much than what you could handle at a certain time. So if you haven't adapted to do 20-mile long runs, and you try to do a 20-mile long run off of lower mileage, then you could easily give yourself a muscle strain, things like that. And I know exactly when I come out, I'm flat in the race. It manifests itself when you're trying to string together 26.2 miles in a row at a pretty fast, high-intensity pace. A little thing's just off, you're going to be screwed. And I was just working too hard. My legs were stiff. They never got into a groove. And it wasn't the speed that was a problem. It was just working too hard, which made my heart rate soar, which it shouldn't have. And then I hit the wall epically hard. And that's kind of what happens. But it could manifest itself in a different way. And that's the same thing that happened at UROC 100K, Le Templier, and ultra. I did it in France, where those were my worst races since I've been coaching myself. But again, from that and from the mountain ultra trail running perspective, it's usually when I grind up hills too hard in training. Like every long run, I'm flying up a mountain as hard as I can, and I think it pulls too much on the muscle fibers. Same thing with riding a bike really hard. That screwed me up. Just doing short bike rides uphill really hard, I think I exhausted my fast twitch muscle fibers, and it made my running form really suffer in the short term. But again, it's kind of an individual basis with overtraining, and it's something that, if you're a beginner or you run, let's say 30 miles a week, 40 miles a week, the main thing you want to train probably is your cardiovascular system, because that's the number one thing that takes longer to adapt. And you have to be careful with your skeletal muscular system, because you don't want to get injured, but the heart and lungs could really take a beating, and you want to keep that system revved up and improving on that system as much as you can, with developing things at the cellular adaptations, basically building mitochondria, density and size, the powerhouse of the cell, but also improving blood flow with capillary beds to the muscles in your legs especially, and then fat burning, things like that, metabolic things. But the main thing is to look at your training in those two aspects and say, hey, what is this workout stimulating? Like today, for example, I did 4x2K, and it went really well. I was really happy with it. I was actually breathing harder than I thought I'd be, but my legs felt great, because I took a real conservative last 13 days post-marathon to come back and make sure I could run close to 5-minute mile pace. So the legs were there. Heart and lungs were a little rusty, but that's okay. I feel good going forward in training. So hope your holiday season's going well. Thank you so much for all the support on Patreon, supporting our sagerunning.com training plans. Again, we're donating $1 for every purchase to Save the Children, a charity near and dear to our heart. Hope your winter training's going well. Happy holidays, and stay tuned for more VO2 Max Productions. I should also add my final point on that. Build an aerobic base is what I'm saying. Low intensity, moderate exercise to build your heart and lungs, cardiovascular system over the long term is really the way to go for consistency in racing, but also for long-term improvement. And the skeletal muscular system, the strength will get there, but the cardiovascular system is really the thing that probably distinguishes faster runners, or runners that really improve, versus, you know, if you have a slower time and you want to get faster in the marathon or any shorter distance or even ultra running distances. Although ultra runners usually do pretty long runs, so that definitely helps. But again, it's, you know, if you're a beginner, usually just you go out for a run, even if it's going to be an easy, moderate day, you're usually out of breath first. You're gasping for breath, and you know your lungs are burning and things like that. So it's really a matter of getting that cardiovascular system developed and then focusing on training both systems so you get stronger and more consistent. But that's just my 2 cents on that. Thanks again for watching, and stay tuned for more VO2max Productions.